are watching a webinar about the PACE programme from the delivery team in Celsius at the University of Strathclyde. PACE is a quality improvement programme aiming to reduce drift and delay in permanence planning for looked after children. These webinars were recorded in the spring of 2020, so please be aware that key changes in legislation, guidance and practice may have occurred since this time.
Welcome to the Timeline How-To webinar. I'm Caroline Anderson, Data Analyst at Celsius, and I'll be walking you through a practical example on how to create a timeline. In today's webinar, we will cover what is required to create a timeline, a reminder of what a timeline is and what it looks like, some top tips, a practical demonstration on how to create a timeline, and finally, a summary of what we have learned. To create a timeline, you'll need access to Microsoft Excel. Also, you will be given access to the following documents. The how-to document, which is a written version of what we will go through today. The Excel template, which you will complete to create a timeline. An example sheet. This is helpful to share if you will be completing the timeline on behalf of a colleague. An information sheet for XY labeler should you require to download. I'll explain a bit more in the presentation about this. Child shadows, which you may find useful to enhance your timeline. These will be displayed at the practical demonstration. It's important that you're proficient in the use of Excel, so not opening Excel for the first time. Whilst the how-to document provides a step-by-step guide, experience of Excel functionality is essential. The Excel template has been created for Excel version 2013 onwards. If you have an older version of Excel, some of the functionality required is not available in the older versions. The main issue identified is the lack of labels. The labels will appear as cell range and will not display the information you type. However, the resolve is to download XY Labeler. A document about XY Labeler has been included with the associated webinar information. If the computer or laptop you're using is linked to a network, you may require permission from your IT department to download the XY Labeler. A timeline is a visual display of information. A picture paints 1,000 words. Prior to compiling a timeline, you have to decide what information you want to display. It's important to remember that this may not represent the whole picture. That is, a child's whole care experience, but something significant at a particular time. These visual displays can very quickly become over-complex and cluttered, which will result in the message being lost. So the first thing is to decide what information you want to display. To aid this part, an example sheet has been provided to allow you or a colleague to collate the information you want to display in your chart. The timeline is a visual, so keep the details precise and use a minimum number of words. Finally, it is important to remember who your audience will be. Social worker, children's panel member, court. So think about the written information being displayed. For example, have you included acronyms? If so, provide a key. This will ensure all readers can interpret the information displayed. Let's get started on the practical example. Please note for this demonstration, I will be using Excel 2016. To start, you'll need to open a copy of the Timelines template, which is in Excel. Note, the worksheet has 3 tabs. For the purpose of this demonstration, there's a 4th one. However, please note, when you receive a copy of the template, there will only be 3 tabs at the bottom. These being Placements, the 2nd tab is Key Events, and the 3rd is Print Pictures, which will be the completed timeline chart. The first thing we need to do is create the placement chart. To do this, we will insert the placement information. That is, the dates in which the child was in a placement from and to, and the type of placement. Note, when you enter this information, the days and years in the following columns will calculate the time between each placement. If you're compiling this chart on behalf of someone else, you could send them a copy of the example timeline sheet to complete. This is a copy of the timeline example sheet. The first section would be for the placement information, and the second part is for the key events. Returning to the timeline template. The template is set up to allow you to compile a timeline for siblings. As you can see, they are referred to as Child 1 and Child 2. The spreadsheet Child 1 corresponds with the colour chart below called Child 1. Additional support can be provided if you require a timeline with multiple siblings. So now we need to enter the information into the Placement tab. For those children who have had periods when they were not looked after, then I have recorded them as not in a placement. As we go through the demonstration, I will show you how to display not in a placement. For the purpose of this demonstration, I will enter some placement details. As you can see in this example, the child was not in a placement between 2000 and 2001. At the beginning of 2001 to 2002, they were at home. And you can follow the rest of it as we go on. Please note, delete any dates or placements which are not required. Now that we have the information we want to display, how can we visualise it? Click on the chart below named Child 1. By doing so, you should have handles, which are either circles and a border around the chart. I tend to use shortcuts in Excel. Right-click on your mouse and this will display a list. Click on Select Data. You can then select the data you want to display in your chart. To do this, select your placements and then using the Control key on the keyboard, select the years. Then press OK. You will notice the length of your placement has changed. Next, select the X-axis. The X-axis is located under the coloured blocks in the chart. It is displaying the child's age. On selecting the X-axis, right-click on your mouse, select Format Axis, a menu bar will appear at the right-hand side of the screen. In the Axis options, set maximum and minimum value on your spreadsheet. In this example, the maximum is 10. Then press Enter. You will notice your chart has extended to the maximum of 8. The numbers on the axis are the child's age. The visual is displaying the number of placement moves and the age of the child. Finally, format the individual legend entries. Change the fill colour and/or delete the duplicates. To change the colour using your mouse, right-click on the colour box you want to change. I'm going to change, in this case, Kinship, and I'm going to keep it as the green colour. Click, right-click, and then you have the fill colours, and I'm going to change this to green. I'll make them the same colour of green. I use an outline of white which differentiates between placements. I'll show you. Click, right click, and then I use the outline. Instead of blue, I'll change it to white. This creates a separation between the colours. This is useful when the placements are quite short in length. To remove extra placement types on the legend, simply click on the placement until it has circles on each corner, or as I call it, handles. So I'll click on Kinship and then press Delete on your keyboard. This removes additional legends. I mentioned previously in the presentation that I'd explain how I represent children that are not in a placement, so are not known to social work and are not looked after children. In this case, we have a child who, from the age of 0 to 1, was not in a placement. At this time, it's displayed as grey. I normally display it as clear, so that therefore there is no colour representation. If we click, just as we've done previously, click on the one we want to change colour, right click on the mouse, then we change the fill colour to no fill, and then the outline I just put as a very, very light grey so that there's a differentiation between the colours. Now we can see at a glance, if we use similar keys for each of our charts, your colleagues will get to know what the colours represent in relation to placements. So in this case, no colour means not known to social work, not looked after. A red colour is at home, green is kinship, at home is red, green is kinship, orange foster care, and then the red colour again at home. Now we'll go on to complete the key event chart. To create a key event chart, you require an event date and an event description. The description we refer to as the label, and this is inserted in this section. Try to keep the description short. The height column relates to the height of the event lines on the chart, and the line column relates to the thickness of the lines. Please note, the heights have no relevance within the chart. They are there purely to allow you to adjust the labels so that the chart can be clearly read and visible. I will now enter a couple of descriptions in this example. I'm leaving the dates as they are, and I'm just entering some new labels. Again, all these instructions are within the timeline how-to document. I'm just clicking on the box, double click, which allows me to enter information. I'm deleting that information out and I'm typing in my new label. Next, select the chart by clicking on it. Then using your mouse right click, a list will appear. So click on Select Data. Again, using your mouse, left click and select the event height, date and line cells that you have inserted data into. You will notice that you do not need to select the label column. Select the information that you require and then press OK or Enter on your keyboard. As you can see, it is now adjusted and contains the information that I've inserted. Lastly, we can manually adjust the height of the lines. This is helpful when you have a lot of information and you don't want overlaps. So, for instance, if I want to change this one, this is the 1st of the 1st, 2003. It's currently sitting at 100. I'm going to double click. I'm going to remove that information and I'm going to change it to 65. As I press enter, note the line moving. To adjust the positions of the labels, using your mouse, left click on the label. And then right click. This will select the label that you wish to adjust. A box will appear around the label and then you can move it around. We will now create the final visual timeline. To do this, click on the Placements tab at the bottom of the spreadsheet. Then select using your left mouse, click on the placement chart you created. Click, left click and copy. You can also go to the Home menu and click on Copy here. Next, click on the Print Pictures tab at the bottom of the spreadsheet. Then right-click on your mouse, select Paste, or again you can go to the Home menu and select Paste. Follow the same instructions and we will copy and paste the key events chart. So we go to Key Events, click on the chart, right-click, we're going to copy, back to Print Pictures and we're going to paste. This is the tricky bit, aligning the charts. I've provided more information that will assist you to do this particular part. But I'll show you some information here at the moment. So I'm going to reduce the key events chart. I'm going to adjust this chart so that I can set this chart on top. At the moment you can see it disappears. So I'm going to click on the key events chart. I'm going to right click. And here I'm going to change so that I can look at the plot area. I'm going to bring the plot area down. So it moves it further down the chart. And now I'm going to align the placement chart. So I'm looking to align the point where the child was born, where it starts here. And I'm just going to adjust this here so that we can see that it lines. We're looking at this point, I'm looking to line all the lines up with the point on which something happened with the child's age. And I think we've got it reasonably accurate here. But again, if you require any assistance, please do get in touch. I mentioned it earlier on the presentation that we had child shadows, which may be of useful. As you can see here, I've got 4 at the bottom that may be of use. So this one here, I think, is very representative of a young baby. So I'm just going to place this round about the point that the child was born. This one here is representative of the very early toddler years, pre-toddler years. This one maybe now round about, oh sorry, I'll just adjust that. So maybe say that's maybe getting to about the year mark. This one, child's up walking about, so round about 2-ish, and this child maybe preschool. These child shadows I think are quite helpful because they represent the different stages in a child's life. So it just again helps bring the visual to life. That concludes completing a visual timeline. So to summarise this webinar, we started with an example of a timeline by way of a refresher. We covered what we require to create a timeline. Excel, remembering the top tips about the versions of Excel. What information is required to complete a timeline, dates and specific information. Finally, a practical demonstration on how to compile a timeline. Please refer to the associated documents, which are, as a reminder, the Timeline How-To document, which will take you through step by step, giving very specific, detailed information about how to create the timeline. There is also an Excel template that you can utilise as well that I've talked you through today, and also an Excel example sheet which you may find useful if you are working with a colleague. It allows them to collect the information that you'll need to compile the timeline. I've also mentioned the timeline in the timeline, the child shadows, which may be of use as well to help visualise your timeline. And finally, the XY labeler document should you have a slightly older version of Excel. Please do not hesitate to get in contact if you have any further questions or require any support.